I was doing all I'm doing is trying to find somebody to go eat lunch with me. I didn't know I was going to get all this commotion over here. But it's been interesting how events, how they touch your life, how they change your life, the things that happen that you would like to explain that you can't. Things that go on that you wonder, what's the rest of this story? And everything that happens in our life, I believe, as a believer in Christ, I believe that it's part of the big picture of trying to grow us and teach us and get us to be everything that He wants us to be. And He wants us to be difference makers. He wants us to impact this world with the eternal things. Otherwise, then what we do in this life is that, and it's gone, and that's it. And of course, we all know that's just the beginning of the story. That's not the end of the story. And so it's interesting how some things that have been going on have made it so important, so urgent that the things that at least coaching football and spending all the hours doing that and all the things that we're doing to make sure that it has eternal value and make sure that it does have a purpose more than just the football field and more than even though football field is an unbelievable laboratory of learning, that I think it's one of the best there is. And getting and using that to help young people get an education, which an education from Carson-Newman is worth a whole lot, and opens a lot of doors, and all those things are so critical to have an urgency about. But if it doesn't have eternal value, and if it doesn't do something as far as winning people to Christ, then it's pretty empty when it's all said and done. And it's the last probably this last season has been an unbelievable example of highs and lows. We all in our life go through the highs and lows. We go through things that we, if we could choose it, we would choose something different. If we had control over it, we would say, come on, Lord, I don't understand this one. How about give me a little better explanation, and et cetera, et cetera. But when Dr. O'Brien and people try to make a big deal out of winning football games, winning 300 football games, which, I was grateful for, I hope only because of all the people that it represents and all the folks that have made that possible, the coaches and the players. But I want to tell you, that's a pretty good battleground for me. That was a pretty good battleground for me. It's a battleground to say, maybe this is about me. Maybe I really am a great football coach, or maybe this is maybe I am pretty good, and then before you know it, in the same process, you find out that you got cancer, and you've got a pretty good battle on your hands as far as how you going to survive the deal. And so on one hand, everything's talking about the highs, and you say that's good, and then you get the lows and you say that's not good. But the deal is that probably my bigger battle in this whole deal has been handling the the acclaim of the 300 or whatever more than the cancer, because the cancer has been a great. It's been pretty humbling. It's been one of those things where you say, it's pretty good. It's a pretty good battle, and so it's great to have the. I guess it's like Paul said. What he say? He said all the things that the Lord had done in his life, and how he'd been born, and how he'd been involved in ministry, and how he'd gone through all the stuff that he went through, and he'd got a vision. The Lord allowed him to have a vision. He didn't know whether it was in the body or out of the body, but he had a vision of heaven, and even got to visit heaven. Then he said, but the Lord gave him some kind of a thorn of the flesh. We don't know what that is. And I got to reading that, and I said, I got a pretty good thorn in my flesh too. And he said, and Paul said, Lord, he said he asked him 3 times to remove the thorn in the flesh. and Jesus answered him and said, my grace is sufficient, that when you're weak, I'm strong. And and I got to thinking about that. Well, if I got Christ in me, then I'm strong too. So that's kind of been a verse. My son Chad kind of summarized things, and this is Acts 20:24. I tried to memorize it this morning. I didn't have enough time to do it because my phone was ringing off. Think that somebody releasing a news release or something. But it said, I do not account my life of any value, nor as precious to myself, if only I can finish my course and the ministry that I received from the Lord Jesus to testify to the gospel of the grace of God. And that's Acts 20:24. And I thought, boy, what a great summary about how we're supposed to live life and how we're supposed to react to the things that happen in our life, even though we don't understand them and all that sort of thing. So, what I want to do is I just want to honor the Lord. I don't want any of this to be about me. I wish that I wasn't. To be honest with you, I can think of a whole lot of things to do than sit around and talk about myself, and because it's not about me. And it's winning 300 games is not about me. You all heard me talk about that. And cancer is not about me. Cancer is not about, I'm not here to glorify cancer. I'm not here to try to make cancer something that is going to control my life or anybody else's life. We don't have to. It's not the answer. And so I want to make that real clear because I trust the Lord with all of this, and if and I do believe this for all of us, we need to live every day as full as we can, and we need to make it count. And just like you've heard me say before, I've got cancer, and it's a bad one. It's growing. It's spread. But I could get hit by a car out here, and the way I run up and down the highway. I was in South Carolina yesterday, and if you'd seen the way I come across that mountain, you probably thought I was trying to commit suicide or something. But we don't have any guarantees about how long we're going to live, and we don't have any ideas of God's plan. I do know this: in the 139th Psalm, it does say that God had our days numbered in our mother's womb, and so He's got my days numbered, just like He does all of us. And so I just want to encourage all of us to max this thing out and do it the very best we can. And so while I'm saying that, I'm not through coaching. I'm going to live every day as full as I can. I'm going to max this thing out as long as I can. and you've heard me say this before, if I'm not doing it, if God called me in it, he's going to have to call me out of it. And as long as I'm having what I think is an opportunity to talk about the Lord and do it through something silly like football, but effective like football, and through an education at Carson-Newman, which is very, very special, then I want to do it until the day I die. Now, is that the way the Lord's going to do it? I don't know. I don't know. All I know this is today I can't hold the message inside because it would burn a hole inside of me. And so I'm going to talk about it. And I want to honor him with everything that I do. And if today's the last day, that's great. But that's my plan. And as long as Dr. O'Brien and the folks at Carson-Newman can put up with me, and as long as I think I'm connecting with kids and hopefully trying to teach them about eternal values and teach them about life through football, not that scoreboard at the end of the field, but this scoreboard in here, then I want to keep doing this. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to do it. Dr. O'Brien, thank you. And I didn't come in here to talk about myself. I don't want to talk about myself. I want to tell you that we got a group of kids that thinks they're going to win a national championship next year. And for me to quit on them would be absolutely a shame. And so I'm not planning on doing that. And so that's where I am. So questions. I rambled on you a whole lot there, and I hope that you got all them sermon notes that I just preached. But questions, any questions that I could answer for you? I know some of you are wondering, why in the world do you have a press conference? I don't know. I don't know why we had a press conference either, except to tell you this. For my phone, and I don't know who started the rumors. I don't know how it's got started, but I am getting killed. Charlie had a couple of your teammates that called this morning from Florida and said, "Coach, you're not quitting. If you are, I'm coming. Coming to the press conference, and I'm going to talk you out of it before you." So I said, "No, I'm not quitting." So anyway, anybody got any questions?
Surely you've talked to the team, told me your decision to keep coaching them. Their reaction to that news?
Well, we never have said we weren't going to coach them. I mean, that never was a factor. I think we got some opposing coaches out there that are saying it, and I don't know who's saying it. I really don't, and I don't know what the assumption. I get to looking the way I'm walking. I must be walking like I'm about to die or something. And so I went out and ran 4 miles. He made me walk 4 miles last Saturday. You know, he was testing me just to make sure I was still upright. And but you know, I don't know. I don't know how it got started. But I haven't said that to him at all. Except we have talked about plans for this coming season. Mm-hmm. You know, we did. We had 17, 18 seniors, and these kids are excited about. And they probably since I've been on the road about 5 out of the last 6 days recruiting. That's 14 hours yesterday. So, you know, I think, anyway.
Before the season began, you said this is not a decision that would weigh on you during the season. As the year went along, did it creep in there at all? Were you thinking about this at all while the season was still going? Well,
when I kept getting bad news about the cancer, you know, I mean, I was struggling to get the good news, you know, that but no, I not at all. We didn't talk about it. You know, we got more important things to talk about than my cancer, you know, or what's going on with me. You know, it's not about me. It really isn't. It's about you know, it's about honoring the Lord. It's about doing it the way He wants us to do it. That's simple. I mean, it really is simple. You know, I'm looking forward to the day that and it may not happen. There's so many promises. Scripture gives us so many promises that I'm looking forward to the day when there'll be a lack of selfishness and lack of motives. That's all self-driven. And like I say, boy, wouldn't it be great, Charlie? Wouldn't it be great to coach a football team where there was no selfishness, where there's no self-agenda, where there would be an unbelievable teamwork, and where there'd be so much celebration going on because of the fact that we'd be celebrating each other. We'd be celebrating, the things that other people accomplished, and celebrating the things that the Lord was doing in our lives instead of all the fleshly things that get us tied down sometimes. And I got thinking one day, y'all think I'm weird now, but I got thinking one day, I'd like to coach in heaven, and have that kind of a team. And just think about it. No missed tackles, no missed blocks. Every play ripped for 6. Just think about it. And I did get thinking about this. I'd like to sing in the heavenly choir someday, where everybody was making good sounds, and it sounded real good. Because I can't sing worth a flip. And so...
Ken, what's your immediate medical, challenge now? Have you got treatments you're going through, and
Yeah.
How does that affect your day-to-day, for the football stuff?
Well, it's I'm trying not to let it affect it all, and I've asked. I met with players and coaches after this season, and I asked them the question: did I do things differently, or did I do things that took away from you? And did I restrict you in any way? Did I hurt you in any way? Did I keep us from functioning like we needed to? And they were being kind, and I hope they were being honest. But they didn't think that I had. They didn't think that. The fact is, I asked the question, "How can I be a better coach?" And then I asked them a question, "How can you be a better player?" And it had some really interesting responses, and it was good. It really was good. And so that's the reason, at the end of the season, I always evaluate. I always evaluate where I am, evaluate where their team is, and try to do an honest self assessment of myself. But it was, it was fine. The way the way the cancer's going is that it spread. Went from the prostate cancer area to the bone, and I'm getting injections now. That's supposed to slow it down. And sure enough, the last test I had, which was last Monday, it was Monday as soon as the season was over, and I went and had more injections, and boy, I got a great medical team. A guy named Dr. Chris Ramsey may be the best head coach I've ever seen, and he really is. He's a great point man. He's tough, and I like him because he's aggressive as a Dickens, and so he's got me on an real aggressive approach, but the last the injections are slowing it down. They're helping it. They've slowed down the growth, and so that's very good. And don't know how long that will work. There's a limit to it, but right now it's doing its job, and so that's great.
In the meantime, you're out recruiting. I guess you said you were down.
I was in South Carolina yesterday, and Cookville a couple of days before that, and Johnson City a day before that, and so hustling pretty good right now. So, which is what coaches do this time of year. Yeah. Did I answer your question? Or did I ramble on you? Did I ramble on you like I'm rambled on everybody else? I got the rambles today. So, what else? Any other questions? Everybody all right? Okay.
Ken said we didn't have this press conference for him, and we did. We had it for me and Dr. O'Brien, because they're wearing us out. Clark's going to be back.
Hey, last Saturday after the ball game when we got beat, which we shouldn't have if we'd had a little better coaching, he comes in the locker room to hear what I'm going to say to the team, because you know what he was expecting. He thought I was going to say, guys, this is my last game. weren't you?
I was expecting you to say, hey, we start spring practice in about 2 months, let's go.
Dr. O'Brien, you had something that you next.